Hi guys, welcome to Code Decode. So today I'll be covering the theory of types of variables in Java. The concepts that I'll be covering here are theoretical ones. The practical implementations of all these concepts can be found in the videos that have been already been uploaded, and the reference to those videos can be found in the description bar below. So let's get started. In Java, basically there are three types of variables. The first one is instance variable, second is local, and third is the class variable or static variables. So the very first point is instance variables. So can you see the code snippet here? I'll use a pointer first. So these three variables are instance variables, and these three variables are nothing but the variables of a class dog. So the first point to remember is that the instance variables are always outside any method, constructor or block in Java, but they're always within a particular class limit. The second point to remember with instance variable is that whenever you create a new object with a new keyword, as soon as you do that, the instance variables of that particular class gets the memory in Java. Basically, Java have three or more types of memories: the heap memory, the stack memories, and many other perm area, geom area. But for those, I'll be covering these high level topics in the later complex videos. Currently, understand that whenever you create a new object, this Tommy object which is being created, this reference gets area in the heap memory, and these instance variables also gets areas in the heap memory of Java. The third point to remember here is that instance variables have some default values. So whenever you create an object Tommy, the instance variables related to that Tommy object, that is color, name and breed, will get some default values as an initialization values. Say for example, all these three, color, name and breed, will be initialized with null, because string is a class, string data type is basically is of type class. If I would have an age which is type of int, then the default value will be 0 in that case. So that is why all the instance variable will have some default values. The next point to remember is that access modifiers can be given to instance variables. So do you see an empty place here? So this empty place is actually not empty. There is an access modifier known as default. There are basically four types of access modifiers: default, public, private and protected. So the color can have all these scopes: the private scope, the public scope, the protected scope, or the default scope, as I've shown you here. I'll be covering access modifiers in the later videos. Stay tuned for that. But as of now, understand that the access modifiers can be given to instance variables. The next important point to remember is that this must be created only and only when you have multiple methods in your class, and all those multiple methods, like 2 or 3 of those multiple methods, needs these instance variables to be shared among them. I can actually create a local variable, but that local variable scope remains with the curly braces in which it is created and ends. That is why multiple methods cannot share a particular local variable. To make it shareable among various methods, please use it as an instance variable, but use it very carefully, because these instance variable gets memory when you use a new keyword to create an object. At that time it gets the memory, as I've already told you, and it is destroyed only and only when this Tommy object is garbage collected. I'll tell you what this garbage collection is in very detail in the later videos, but understand that garbage collection is a process of removal of these objects from the memory, and hence only and only when the Tommy is removed from the memory, the color, name and breed occupied by this Tommy is removed only when that Tommy object is removed from memory. So this is a very long time, and you can get memory out of memory exception. That is why use that only and only when it is a shareable object with multiple methods. The next point is the next type of variable is local variable. So do you see a code snippet here? You see this int age. What is this int age? This particular variable is nothing but a variable being initialized in this method print with this start and end block. So local variables are always declared, defined and initialized inside a method, constructor or a block. The next point to remember is that these are created and initialized only and only when the block is entered. So this int age will not have any memory in the memory space until unless this print method is called. And if the print method is called, the scope of this method starts, the life of this int age equals to 6 is initialized, and you can use this variable. And as soon as the print method ends its execution, this variable will be removed from the memory, which is actually a stack memory. The local variables are used in a stack, as the instance variable were given in the heap. So that is why I use this age only and only when it is to be used in single method only, as the scope at the life of this age will start when the print method starts its execution, and when print method is done with its execution, this age will be removed from the memory and you will not be able to use this variable anywhere again. Next important concept with local variable is that access modifiers cannot be used with local variable, and this particular point is very important from interview perspective, so understand this very carefully. That I've shown you that there were 4 types of access modifiers in this video itself: the public, private, default and protected. But when you create a local variable, you cannot use any of the access modifiers here. By default it will be default only. You cannot give any of the access modifications or the scope to these local variables. They will remain local always. Next important point is that the local variables are visible only and only within the method or the constructor or the block in which it is defined. If I use another method, say XYZ method, and I'll try to print similar to this, I'll copy this and I'll paste there in that method, then it will give me a compile time error that age is not known to this particular method. Why? Because the scope of this is ended. I have started my method somewhere here. It will have its own curly braces start and ending part. Here age is not visible because the visibility of this variable remains only and only in that particular method. Next important point is that there is no default value in instance variable. I've told you that some default values are given. For example, for the string class null is given, for int class 0 is given. But for local variable there is no default value defined. That is why you have to for sure initialize it. As of now I have initialized it with age equals to 6. So 6 is what is done as an initialized value for the age. And since the compiler does not give it a default value, if I does not do age equals to 6 and I'll try to print age, it will give me a compile time error. To see that, please refer to the videos I've uploaded previously. The next concept is that the very important concept, the local variable cannot be static. I'll cover the static variables very soon, but understand and remember this point that like here you can use access modifiers or a static keyword, but you cannot use a static keyword for sure in a local variable. They cannot be static because it is a particular method. It is inside a particular method. They cannot be a class variable. Statics are basically class variables. The last or the third type of variable in Java is the class variable. So class variables are nothing but initialized with this static keyword. So this hospital name is nothing but a class variable. The very first point for this type of variable is that whenever you declare a particular variable with a static keyword and outside any method, constructor or block, it becomes a class variable. It is similar to instance variable, but there are few differences I'll be covering in the next concepts. The second concept is that there will be only one copy each class and all the objects that will be created for this class object. In the first slide I've shown you that in the public static void main I've created a Tommy object. So if I create dog1, dog2, dog3, 3 types of objects, all those 3 type of object will share this hospital name as XYZ, and any of the object, if modifying this value, all the other 2 objects will see the changes, which is not the case with the instance variable. So the first very important difference comes here is that instance variables are not shared, but static variables or the class variables are shared with various objects that you create. The third important point is that default values are same as instance variable. So if I do not assign it XYZ, it will have, since it is of type string, the type string is actually a class and hence the value will be null. If it would have been int, the value will be 0. Now static variable can be accessed by calling the class name. So if I want to use hospital name, then I can use dog.hospital name, this dog, D with capital D. Because these are class variables, you do not need to create an object for it. But a very important point from the interview perspective is that if I create an object Tommy and then I use Tommy.hospital name, does that give me a compile time error? So the answer will be no, it will not give me a compile time error. It will work perfectly fine. But if you can use it with the class name, why do you really need to create an object, create a particular memory into it, give all the instance variable memory, and then use hospital name if you can do it directly with the class name? Because these variables will get memory as soon as the dog class gets loaded in the Java memory. They do not need an object to be created for the same. The next important point is very important, that this particular static variable cannot be local. And when I was covering the local variable, I've told you that they cannot, neither can have access modifiers nor they can have the static keyword. Similar to the case in the static variables also, they can have modifiers, access modifiers, but they cannot be a local variable. Next important point is, I've already covered that this particular memory is being, as soon as your object is being loaded in the memory, as soon as your class is being loaded in the memory, this hospital name will get a memory area, but it does not depend on any of the object. You can create or you does not create any of the object for this dog class, the hospital name will get the memory. So that's all about all the three types of variables in Java. For all these concepts that I've covered here, are very important from the interview perspective. To see all those in the practical implementation or by creating a class and using them, please watch the videos. I'll be sharing the links in the description bar below.